Good evening, everyone. I am Rashmi Singh, your host for today's webinar, and it is an absolute pleasure to welcome such an enthusiastic group of educators and lifelong learners to our session on turning classrooms into discovery hubs. Looking at all of you here, ready to explore new ways to make learning exciting and meaningful, is truly inspiring. Before we dive in, a small request. Please share your questions, reflections, or insights in the chat anytime during the session. Your participation will make our discussion even richer. And do stay with us till the end. We have planned an interactive session with Q&A, so you won't want to miss it. Today's theme is very close to every educator's heart: how we can transform our classrooms into vibrant spaces where curiosity, imagination, and discovery thrive. Together, we'll look at how hands on experiential learning turns lessons into explorations, how stories and simple activities can connect learning to real life, and how creative strategies like cooperative learning and lateral thinking can spark engagement. Most importantly, we'll reflect on the evolving role of the teacher, not just as an instructor, but as a facilitator of curiosity, collaboration, and imagination. After all, learning should feel like an adventure, one filled with wonder and possibility. It is now my great honor to introduce our distinguished speaker, Ms. Sonia Duggal. Sonia Duggal is a highly experienced education professional with over 20 years in ESL teaching, content development, and curriculum design. She has authored a diverse range of fiction and non-fiction works for leading publishers, creating materials for CBSE, ICSE, and state boards. Known for her storytelling skills, she is also a writing coach and teacher trainer. Ms. Duggal has developed content for all age groups from pre-KG to grade 10, covering English, life skills, value education, and grammar. She has collaborated with top publishing houses, edtech, and e-learning platforms, designing curricula and content that are both innovative and effective. As a certified ELT trainer, she also conducts impactful teacher training workshops. Her work with the Burlington English Early Years Kids highlights her dedication to quality education and innovative learning. We are truly fortunate to have her with us today. Please join me in giving a warm virtual welcome to Ms. Sonia Duggal. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And thanks so much, Rashmi. Welcome, all of you. It's nice to see everybody joining for in the afternoon. It's going to be a very fun, interactive session. As Rashmi said, you can keep typing in whatever your answers are, or because I'm going to have some quizzes, ask you some fun things here. Because what we are talking about is not instructional teaching. We are talking about classroom being turning into discovery hubs. So in itself, this seems to be a very interesting topic, if as you see. So what we are going to cover is, by the end of the session, you will be able to understand how experiential learning transforms classroom into active spaces of exploration. We will be taking up some stories and how one can use stories into the classroom and also turn children's experiences into, real life, which is very relatable to them. Going forward, how to use creative strategies like lateral thinking and cooperative learning to engage children in classroom. So this is very interesting. And then, of course, your role as a facilitator to collaborate with the children, be curious with the children, and of course, help children become more imaginative as we also learn with them. So this is what we are going to cover at this point in time. So let's start at the beginning. So what has been happening, like as I remember as a kid, what we used to do is something like this. The teacher is teaching, and what do you think is this teacher doing? Any ideas, Rashmi? So I'm going to have interactions with you. What do you think is
Sure, ma'am.
the teacher doing here?
She's drawing.
Yeah, what is she drawing? What do you think is she trying to teach here?
She's trying to teach maybe regarding photosynthesis here.
You are right. You are just so absolutely right. So now what's happening here is that the teacher, it's a grade 5 science class, and the teacher is trying to teach what photosynthesis is, and the children are listening. Are they listening? That's a question. Now, what about this? Now, if you have two plants in the classroom and one you put it in the shade, and then the children observe the whole thing for, say, a week or so. Now, what happens? Is it fact or does it become an inquiry class? Would children be more interested in
It's a
it?
fact. So
What do you
whatever
think?
they learnt in the theory class, they are now experimenting it.
Absolutely. Or maybe they're not learning it, they're just learning through the inquiry. So you don't have to teach them, right? So it saves time.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
also there's no rote learning now happening. So this is what Discovery Hub is, where children discover by themselves that how photosynthesis work. So this is what classroom should be: exciting, curious, and good for the children, isn't it? So that's what we are going to talk about. So in other words, this is called experiential learning, isn't it? Experiential learning
Yes,
is
ma'am.
when children connect theory with practice, and then they learn by trial, error, reflection, and improvement. It goes beyond rote knowledge, or it leads to problem solving, creativity. Now, these are life skills. You don't need books, right? It's a life skill to learn problem solving skills, which is called critical thinking, right? We are going to talk more about it. And then, of course, creativity. That's very important. So, that is what we are going to talk about.
There are more
Now,
answers in the chat box, ma'am. Like people are
yes,
saying
yeah, go
it's
ahead.
visual explanation, experiential, real life learning, learn by practical, observation. So these are the answers coming from the participants. Experiential learning.
Perfect. Now, experiential learning. That's something very interesting. So, Rashmi, if I say experiential learning, what do you think does that mean? I'm sure teachers would be typing in also.
Yeah. So teachers say learning by doing,
Correct?
application based learning,
Absolutely. Now, is that just
hands-on
once?
learning.
Absolutely. Is that for just once? Now, imagine you are going to learn how to ride a bicycle. What do you do? So, first, what you do is you start by doing, isn't it? That's a concrete experience which is happening to you. And then what happens is then you keep falling all the time. And then you think that what is it that I'm not doing correct? So that's called reflective observation. All right. And then you do a abstract conceptualization, which means that, well, if I balance myself like this and put the first tire correctly, maybe I will be able to ride the cycle better. All right. So, and then we do active experimentation. So, this can be applied to any subject and any situation. So, first, anybody has concrete experience. Then they do reflective observations, thinking what happened, noticing what worked or failed, and it goes on to abstract conceptualization. If I balance, maybe I won't fall. And then active experimentation, applying the new idea. This can be a case in the house also when it comes to cooking, or riding a bicycle, or we can take it into the classroom. For example, children go out. I mean, imagine the child has gone to a grocery shop and then they notice that they gave too much money or too little money. So that would be like a reflective observation. They realize that, oh, we should have checked the prices first and then subtract the money I give. So what you're doing is you are giving the children are thinking through a problem, right? And then, of course, the next time they do go is they calculate the money, the amount of money they have, and then they buy the thing. So these are very small things. This is how it works. It's cyclic and it doesn't stop. The learning never stops for us, also, isn't it? So, this is what happens. Um, Same, you can do this in a science class where mix vinegar and baking soda to inflate a balloon. So that is what concrete experience. And then you realize the balloon never inflated as much as we expected, or it wasn't good enough. Then what do? You add more vinegar or more soda to produce more gas, and maybe it inflates. And then lastly, what you do is you try it. So these are the kind of experiments you can, each teacher, whichever class you are in, can do it depending on what you are teaching. And let children observe. That's the whole idea now. Now, here, children are not passive listeners, they are active learners along with the teacher. So we become facilitators. Any questions so far, Rashmi? Yeah, or is it going fine?
It's going fine, ma'am. Like teachers
And
are giving their opinions, so yeah.
correct. So if you look, the studies say, how do we all learn? Right? So this is how we actually learn. It's only 5% lecture, imagine. And that's what we've been doing all, and that's how we learned, quote unquote, right? 10% reading. Then, of course, audio visual is 20%. Demonstration is 30%. Then, of course, group discussion is 50%. If you look, practiced by doing is 75%. And then there's another thing, which is teaching others is 90%. So if you see, if the children learn in class by doing, a lot of children are going to learn faster, quicker, and you will save on time. So it becomes very, very interesting here. So, in other words, how we'll put it is shift from teaching facts to facilitating experiences. Children learn deeply when they act and not just listen. Otherwise, what we are going to do is, oh, listen to us, listen to us. And what they listen to us is actually half of what we really want them to listen. So we feel at the end of it, as teachers, very frustrated that I have taught so much and nothing is going anywhere, isn't it? So that's very important, that we should know how much, right? Evaluation and reflections are key to creativity and innovation. So, as teachers, we need to be very observant. We need to reflect what worked, what did not go well. As teachers, also. So, we are also doing experiential teaching in that manner. All right. So, what is happening is that we also maybe, do a lesson and then we realize, oh, this worked, this did not work. Let's change it around and let's see how children respond to this. For example, if there is a class which is all maximum, if you see, how do we all learn? We learn visually, we learn by listening, that's auditory, and by doing, isn't it? Kinesthetic. And of course, reading and writing is part of it. But what if your class is all kinesthetic? So, how do you do a story in that case? So then it becomes very important, isn't it? That how do we apply stories or anything for the matter to it, isn't it? So this is very important. I am talking about the stories. Would you be interested in listening to a story? Or rather, I'll be reading one. What do you say, Rashmi? Shall we do that?
Yes, ma'am. We are very much interested.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a story. The name of the story is How to Weigh an Elephant. Do you know how to weigh an elephant?
No, not really.
Anybody, teachers, do you know how to weigh an elephant? This is going to be
Saying
interesting.
no,
Like,
no, no, ma'am, no.
no? Oh, wow. So let's learn together today how to weigh an elephant. And there's this girl, her name is Leelavati, and she's very smart. But before how she's going to reach to weigh an elephant, we'll have to listen to this story. Okay. Now there's this king. Now the king has a pet elephant, and the pet elephant, the elephant is very dear to him. Okay, so he used to really, really take care of his elephant. And the elephant was a roly-poly elephant, a chubby, happy elephant. Everybody used to feed him, and the king was very, very proud of his elephant. But then one day, he had an idea. And the idea was, I wonder how much my elephant weighs. So, what he did was, he made an announcement and he declared in his court that find out the weight of my elephant and win a grand prize. Grand prize, grand prize, grand prize, grand prize. Now the news spread everywhere, okay? And everybody wanted the grand prize. Now, what happened next? Let's see. The fruit sellers tried, the rope makers tried, and look what happened. The rope broke. They were actually doing a tug of war with the elephant. The jewelers tried. And well, the jewelers have small weights, if you've noticed. Have you ever noticed that? So, that, of course, is not going to help the elephant from getting weight, right? The royal ministers tried. They were doing some kind of calculations, right? And then even the court scientists tried. At last, when they were very, very tired and nobody could do anything about it, one of them said, my little daughter, Leelavati, can help us. Any idea what is going to happen now? Rashmi, do you have any idea?
No, ma'am. We can ask the teachers. Teachers, do you
Yeah,
have any ideas? They're
let's
saying
take
they're
us.
curious to know.
Yeah. Ah, okay. So I guess we are going to listen to the story. Now, the king called Leelavati. Leelavati thought and thought and thought, and finally she had an idea. Finally. What do you think she did? Okay, let's see. She asked the king, can we take the elephant to the river? Why to the river now? That's another question now coming up. Why to the river? Okay, let's go
Teachers
forward.
are like saying to make him sit in the boat.
Maybe let's check it out. You're getting closer there. That's exactly what happened. And Leelavati got the chubby, happy little elephant into a boat. The boat sank and sank and sank. When it sank no more, Leelavati made a mark on the boat. Then she got the elephant out of the boat, and the boat was filled up with stones. When the boat sank up to the mark, Leelavati said, stop! Stop. Now weigh the stones and subtract my weight. And that, O king, is the weight of your elephant. Teachers, did you have fun?
Very nice.
So now, this is how you can do. Perfect. But what are we teaching here to children? What is it that's going to stick to them? That's the question here. Can somebody do that?
Teachers are saying calculation. They're teaching calculation, creative thinking, measurement,
Any science
numeracy.
teachers? Any science teachers?
Science teachers, can we have your answers, please? Imagination, measurement, solving problem, Newton's law,
No,
out of the
it's
box
something
thinking.
else. Yes. So it is Archimedes' principle. Have you heard of that?
Yes,
The
they're writing
third
that.
principle of Archimedes. So that's how you can teach children, and then they can experiment. Okay. What you also realize is that um, Leelavati had a lot of critical thinking skills. So she could think out of the box, like the teachers have said. And then you can connect this to the scientific principle and the experiment. So, what does this story tell us about Leelavati's way of thinking? So, these are the kind of questions you can ask and, generate interest. Because if you understand, stories stick to us at all times and they help develop life skills. We actually undermine the importance and we think it's only for morals, but no, we can use this to teach many, many, many things. Similarly, all this becomes important, right? So this is how you can actually ask children to question what they are learning, and they'll never forget Archimedes' principle after that. And you can try this experiment by doing that in the classroom also. And of course, measurements, weights, how can you measure, so there's so plethora of things which just suddenly, the barriers just opens and children will start coming with ideas. Similarly, I have a very nice Diwali here is round the corner. So I have one more story on the same lines. Shall we do that also? What do you say,
Sure,
Rashmi?
ma'am. Sure. Teachers, are you all
Yeah,
ready?
okay.
Yes, please.
So this is Ammachi. Okay, Ammachi's amazing machine. Okay, now see, Ammachi, could we make coconut barfi today? Suraj asked his grandmother. Please. Only if you help me make it, huh? Replied Ammachi. And Suraj is happy. Yeah, today we are going to make coconut barfi. Ready? Shouted Suraj. Ready. What are they doing here? How can they make coconut on a coconut tree? Coconut barfi on a coconut tree. We need coconut, right? So here, look, the whole pulley. She's made a whole pulley and she's going to pluck the coconuts here. We'll only pick the ripe ones, okay? The ones that are brown all over. Watch out! Here they come. And just look how they slide it down. Teachers, just imagine how much critical thinking and problem solving skills are happening here. All right. So you need an idea there. And now to get the husk off. Ouch! Crank! Suraj's stomach went grrr, and Amachi giggled. And then we crack the shell like this. And what comes out? Water. And grate the fruit, toss it into the pan with all the other ingredients. So it smells so good, Amachi. And then we pour it all out onto a tray. Wait for it to cool, Baba. Now cut it into neat little slices. Squeak, squeak. Yippee! Our coconut barfi is ready to be eaten. Yum yum! So if you see, so many simple machines have been introduced through a beautiful story. And more than introduction, do you realize these are the things which we use in the kitchen every day maybe? So now everybody, I think even we would have new eyes that, oh, well, we thought it was only in a physics book. But simple machines are all over, what we use every day of our lives. So now the critical thinking is happening in a very big way. I hope you have having fun here. Any questions again?
No
So
questions as in
here,
now. Teachers, if you
so
have any
this
questions, please keep dropping it in the Q&A section.
right. Similarly, see now what we are talking about SDGs. That's part of Burlington. So strong, right? So we are talking about life on land, life in water. That's part of SDG, right? The UNESCO. So these are the kind of stories you can do in the classroom and bring it to the children. One of them, I'm just going to run through some of the stories because they are very interesting. And there's this crocodile where this guy finds the crocodile in the pond. Anybody interested in listening what happened there?
You're saying it's interesting. Yes.
Yeah. So we are actually having a story session and I'm just going to do this last one or two and then we're just going to go forward. So again, please relate it. So there are fun stories. You all are interested. So are all of us. There's no age to stories. Please use stories into the classroom. That's very important. So this is a very interesting story, which I'm going to read to you again. Give me a second. I'm just pulling it out. And it goes something like this. Everyone calls me Raja. I live with my grandfather and my grandmother in a small village in Kerala. Once I saw a huge crocodile in a tank near my house. I did not mind the crocodile staying there, but I did not want it to eat our fish. I stood behind a tree and threw a brick at it, but the crocodile just slipped into the water and disappeared. Maybe I could use a rope. Our cows were tied in the cowshed with strong, long ropes, but grandfather would not let me take one. I waited for him to go out. Then I quietly took a rope to the tank. I made a noose at one end of the rope and tied the other end to a big tree. Early next morning, I ran to the tank and there it was, the huge crocodile caught. When it saw me, it suddenly rushed at me with its mouth open, letting off a sharp sound. The news spread. Many people came. My teacher also came with my whole class. I felt like a hero. Some people in the crowd wanted to hurt the crocodile. I told them it was my crocodile and I wanted to set it free. But then they said it must be killed. I was alone and helpless. Then grandfather came. He was the only person who could save my crocodile. Grandfather said in a loud voice that nobody should harm the crocodile. Raja set it free at once. We decided to take it to the large temple tank where there were many crocodiles. We took a long ladder, the crocodile to the tank, and then we held the crocodile near the water. We put the ladder on top of it. 8 people pressed down the ladder at both ends so that it could not move. Then I cut the rope that held the crocodile. The ladder was lifted and the crocodile jumped into the tank. A few days later, my crocodile was back in the same tank where I had seen him first, basking in the sun. So the crocodile actually returns back. Now we have a solution. Again, the solution has to be found. All right. So if you notice, there's a lot of critical thinking, problem solving skills which are happening. Raja tried multiple methods. So these are the things should inspire children to think differently. What would you have done if you were Raja? So these are the kind of questions that should be asked in the question. And then if you see, there is corporate learning happening. There's a lot of collaboration happening because they all get together and find this solution, that they take a long ladder and put the crocodile there. So you see now a plain simple story opens up to so many other questions. And there is empathy, there is STG which is happening in a big time way. Any comments there?
So they have been writing the values. So it's empathy, teamwork,
Correct.
compassion.
Also,
Most of them say
critical
it's
thinking
teamwork.
is not what to think, but how to think. That's usually important. And with that, of course, comes compassion and thinking and everything else, right? So why, and these are the questions which needs to be asked. Why do you think Raja wanted to set the crocodile free instead of letting others harm it? How did Raja demonstrate problem solving skills when he wanted to catch the crocodile? What might have happened if Raja had not sought his grandfathers? It also talks about family values. It talks about how family is important, because the grandfather, they all listened to grandfather because he was the senior most person in the village. So our family is important. How did the community's response to the situation with the crocodile change throughout the story? Why do you think opinions shifted? Rashmi, would you like to add anything which teachers are sharing with us?
Yeah, they are talking more about unity, respect for elders, attributes, leadership.
Absolutely. So you see how stories are so beneficial for the children now. So that you can not just teach moral values, which we think, but we can teach subjects which we really experienced it, and also it relates to real life situations, right? So that's very very important. So that's the fun of stories. Uh, Again, the last one was there are many stray and wild animals around us. Discuss how you can protect them. It's a very burning question right now, especially in the place I stay. And, it's a question to think. You've taken away, their spaces and now you want them not to be around. It's a little sad, right? So these are questions, but when these stories were done with children, the children were really sensitized towards a lot of things. There have been examples which came to us. I mean, these are real examples I'm sharing with you because the teachers are sharing with us that suddenly they notice a bird and then they start caring of a baby bird fallen from the nest or a stray animal just, not being fed. So these are the things which I think our next generation needs to be more conscious about. And all that comes from stories. Moving ahead, when we're talking about critical thinking and life skills, and that is one of the very important things which NEP is talking about. All right. That can come across through stories, whether it might be summarizing the story. Please summarize the story in one line. Okay. Now, what happens is the critical thinking, like when you go for a movie and you say, what was the movie about? So that's actually one is processing it. I have to tell in one line, right? We don't reveal the whole story ever. So that is exactly what summarizing the story is. What was the story about? So now critical thinking, what needs to be said first? What needs to be said next? That comes through, all these kind of activities. And then to think, putting yourself, empathy was one of the things you, Rashmi, mentioned that, is important. What would you have done if you were Raja? What would you have done if you were the crocodile, maybe? So then you're thinking out of the box here, right? Which we are going to talk about when it comes to lateral thinking, which is what I'm going to take up the next. All right. Create a different story with a different ending. So now what is happening here is all these become very, very relevant, right? Comparisons. Crocodile story with, say, a hippopotamus story. What was similar? What was different? Was there a conflict in the first one? Was there a conflict in the second one? So these are the things which make children think deeply about issues and then come to a conclusion. So predictions. So that is what critical thinking is to, think, have many ideas, and then consistently try to find solutions to problems. So that is what critical thinking is. How to think, not what to think. Any questions so far? Because we're going to move on to the next one,
Yeah.
which I feel is very important in today's time. And because the more I travel, the more I realize that we are not very, very aware of our own cultural heritage here. Okay, so I'm talking about is creativity in the classrooms. It's very important that we become creative in the classroom. Any ideas? What does that mean? What is creativity? Like we talked about critical thinking.
Yes, teachers. So they are writing TLM, bulletin boards, Wari art,
Yeah, so this is
cutouts of
actually
stories.
close to worldly art, but it is not worldly art. You're right. I mean, so creativity is not always art, right? It's much more than that. It's how we think differently, right? And come up with solutions. We've all heard India is famous for jugaad, and especially like if you are staying in North, it's a very common word, jugaad. Actually, to think about it, jugaad doesn't mean shortcut. It means you have very few things. How can you be creative? Similarly, when you are in a classroom situation, what happens? We need to be very creative at the time. All right, we just have very limited resources. Now, how to make that into the best is what creativity is all about. So that's one part of it. Of course, the other part is, are we aware of our culture around? So this is Bhil art, which is very close to worldly art. Your homework is, please look at the difference between Bhil art and worldly art. Now, when you do stories like I Am Bhil, where Bhuri Bai is a very famous Bhil artist, rather she's an award-winning person. So you can ask children to even do a science class and draw diagrams using dots and lines or something like that. So it all just kind of falls in place. So it's very important that we discover we don't have to go outside of, like there's so many things which are happening within India which is like we are not even aware of. Like there's this, I mean, I was talking to people in Kashmir, and there were people from, Ladakh. Like there was a story based in Ladakh, and I was talking to people and the teacher was talking to people in Kashmir, and then they started saying that there's a lot of differences. So for me also, it was a learning experience. I was just a facilitator there, listening and or a co-learner, as we say. And they said, no, the way they make tea and the way we make tea is very different. And, I could see so many differences, which I was, as a person, sitting here, not aware of it. So these are the kind of things you are going to, make your children, aware of. So you can do something like this. Imagine you are in a magical forest where animals talk and trees have secrets. What if you could use colors, dots, and lines to draw and show the stories of forest world? What would you draw? What kind of story would you like to tell through your art? Just like the Beal people do. Why is art important? Learn about different forms of Indian art and share it with your friends. So these are the kind of things with any book. I mean, these are just examples, right? These are not the ultimate. Like we have some very rich and enriching books, So yeah, you can. This is how you can use stories and make children think different and out of the box, as we say, lateral thinking. Shall we move to the next topic, which we are here for?
Yes, ma'am.
So, lateral thinking is what? And teachers, do you have anything to say about that? What is lateral thinking?
Vijay Lakshmi ma'am says all things.
Okay. Anybody else?
Manjunath sir, thinking out of the box, holistic thinking, thinking same, two
Mm,
ways of thinking and brainstorming, future thinking.
correct. Thinking out of the
And
box, right? So basically, it's a way of solving problems by looking at them differently and not just in a straight line. That's so when I started talking about creativity, this is actually creativity. Okay. If logical thinking is climbing stairs step by step, lateral thinking is finding a hidden lift. It's as simple as that. Okay. For example, if stuck in traffic, instead of waiting, you might take a cycle lane or imagine flying over in a balloon or maybe find another solution to it. I remember lateral thinking can be like, you are hungry and these days you order while standing. I read somewhere in Bangalore, so the Zomato guy, they ordered food. So that was like very interesting, right? So these things happen at all times. Or lateral thinking can be as simple as, I mean, there are three children and you have this basket, vegetable basket, put it and tie it on the cycle. I mean, there are pictures available and make those small children sit and, take the cycle forward. So that's lateral thinking. So which means it's a path. It's not like the solution is not direct. There can be more than one ways to reach. So that is what lateral thinking is. Any questions there? As we move forward, Rashmi,
Ma'am, nothing on lateral thinking, ma'am. There are other
so far?
questions which we can take up at the end.
Correct. Fair enough. So why lateral thinking in the classrooms? What is important is here the children move away from rote memorization to curiosity and problem solving. So right now, whatever I showed you was actually that. What we were looking at was how to take off children from rote memorization to curiosity and problem solving. Our job as teacher facilitator just comes down multiple notches. Encourage imagination, flexibility, and what if thinking. Very important. Children need to start thinking why? What if we do this differently? All right. It builds resilience. If one way doesn't work, I can try another way. Right now, what we are hearing the stories are that children give up. They say, we're not going to do it. All right. So, and also this also is, I mean, I think all seminars, webinars one is attending, we are talking about mobile phones. We are talking about how social media is taking over. But if we are doing things in a very experimental way and discovering things together, the idea is to just interest children, right? Right. So make your classrooms, as we started, discovery hubs that let's discover and see how this works out. Make learning playful and memorable. I'll give you an example. For example, I mean, summer vacations were down, and one of the schools, what they did was they gave them a project. They said, okay, you're going to plan a holiday. You have X amount, say 10,000 or 20,000. Plan a holiday, use your skills, and where do you want to go first? So the children would be like, let's go to Goa, Thailand, or Kerala, or wherever, right? And then they realize the budget is not as much, and they have to plan a 2-day trip. So now they are searching and finding hotels, the things that interest them, and plan an entire itinerary. Now, what happens through this project? They learn so many things. And more than that, they learn, that things cannot be taken for granted if you have. So that's lateral thinking, right? On part of the, school to a teacher to give such a project, which is so much more interesting. So those are the kind of things which can be, imbibed in the classroom. Let's do some very, very quick riddles.
Ma'am, there are questions on lateral thinking, so they want to
Yes.
know more ways of implementing this in the classroom.
So that's what we are going to do. I'm going to give you some small puzzles here. Just see if you can kind of look and answer them. I'm not giving the answers here. The more you take, the more you leave behind. I'm absolutely lateral thinking. You can actually start a classroom like that,
Okay, so we have the answers
which
coming
is,
in.
yeah,
Step, spit, hole, breathe, air.
footsteps. Okay, we'll stop at when the answer is right. Correct.
Okay,
So
step,
footsteps.
stand, hole, oxygen,
The more you
time,
take, the more you leave behind. How can you take oxygen and leave behind?
happiness, knowledge, time.
Okay, so this is footsteps. Okay, let's kind of
Okay,
what
footsteps.
has keys, but then they don't have locks.
Okay, the second one, teachers, please have a look. Hockey, keyboard, piano.
Correct? The piano is the right answer. Keyboard is the right answer. I am tall when I'm young. What's the answer?
Candle. Oh, everybody is writing candle almost.
Wow.
One or two are writing like pencil.
You're
Most
right.
candle.
So now if you see, these are like small things through which you can generate lots and lots of interest, right? What about the next one?
Coin.
Absolutely correct. It has heads and tails, but no. What gets wetter as it dries? That's an easy one.
Okay, there's a fifth one. Towel.
Towel, right.
Sponge.
Okay, correct. The next one.
Ground. Okay, there's a next one now.
The more you take away, the larger it grows.
Knowledge.
Actually, yes. I think I'll go with that. That's a good one. What has a neck but no head? Any answers
Water.
there? Yeah, that's a correct one. I'm not alive, but I can grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air. That's the last one.
Fire.
Absolutely. See, now, if you are going to, like, if you're going to talk about fire, you can actually take this riddle and introduce it into the classroom. So your children are just there with you. All right. And it just does help develop lateral thinking. If you go forward, coming to languages, I mean, this is a fun way of introducing idioms in the classroom. What do you think is this? Anybody? I mean, I wish we had some, chocolates to give. But yeah, what idiom is this or what phrase is this? Anyone?
Elephant in the room.
Absolutely. Which means what? An obvious problem or issue that everyone knows but nobody wants to solve, right? Which one is this? In a nutshell, okay? Which means in the shortest possible way. Which one is this? Anybody? No
Okay, there's
one?
a next one. Tongue twister.
No, it's tongue tied. Which one is this? So when you're doing idioms, there are two ways. One is to tell the story behind the idioms, or you can just show pictures and they just kind of, this is actually lateral thinking, right? So the next one is needle in a haystack, if you see
Hasty.
this. Yeah. And then, of course, this is cool as a cucumber. So now this is so much fun when you introduce children to, all these fun stories there, right? It doesn't stop here. So, I mean, if Burlington being an English, the entire thing. So I mean, I've been part of the whole process. And if you see, this is how lateral thinking you can develop. Do you know what this is?
They say one in a million.
Perfect. Which one is this now? What's the
Underwater. There's
answer?
one
No, this is
answer underwater. Blood is thicker than water.
not. Absolutely.
Okay, next one, teachers.
Yeah, yeah. The next one.
Grass is green.
Yeah, green grass or grass is greener on the other side. No, not really, but green grass. What is this now? So we do concrete poetry and then this can be done in a higher class because you are actually developing these skills.
Yeah, try to understand.
This is easy.
Once
That's how
upon a time.
absolutely slowly start. And which one is this? Smart people we have here.
Yeah. Forget it.
But see, this
Very
is
good.
what lateral thinking is all about. In the classroom, you can start with riddle of the day, start the morning with a puzzle. How many ways you can use a paper clip? As simple as that. Reverse thinking, what if gravity stopped working for a day? So you are introducing gravity, you can do something like that. Problem flip. Instead of asking how to solve a problem, ask how would we make it worse? And then reverse it. So these are the kind of things, story twist, change the ending of a story. What if Leelavati's boat had a hole? So you are already, your children are there with you for the rest of the day, not just one class. So if you see it, lateral thinking doesn't need many fancy resources. It is about asking unusual questions, encouraging playful answers, and letting children explore multiple paths. That's where we started from. As teachers move from is this right to what else could it be? So far, so good?
Okay, ma'am, just a minute, ma'am. So the teachers who are requesting to go back to the previous slide, we would be sharing the recording with you. So you can have a look at the recording. Thank you.
When we talk about cooperative learning, this is what, and it's very important. We talk about 21st century skills, and if we don't talk about collaboration, it doesn't work. So when we do pair share is, I mean, when two people work together, of course, yes. But then there's a method to it where the children answer an open-ended question and then they discuss as pairs and then come to a conclusion. See, now you're discussing. You have your individual opinion and then you discuss and share it with the class. That's real pair share. Readers theater, we do at all times, where it's book reading basically, and you divide children if it's dramatics and all. Circle time activities, I think, should be done um, high school level, to be honest. Children love to talk. I was with high school and realized they really, really would like to share their thoughts. Choral reading, storyboarding, mock parliament, especially for senior schools, group discussions, turn and talk. So you turn and talk, vlogging, creating videos, podcasting, interviews, and flip class. So these are some of the cooperative learning which one can do. Moving forward very quickly.
Okay, so teachers, we still have the session yet. Okay, so I can see thank you messages coming up, but please stay tuned till the end. Thank you.
Yeah, we are here for another 10 minutes because this is interesting. Because when we talk about teaching aids, the traditional method was objects, models, charts, pictures. Of course, we can still use that, but we can also use other things like plotting the sequence of a story. Um, that's logical structure, right? Mind maps, Venn diagrams. What is the similarity between music and math? So what happens now? The children start understanding many things. All right. It encourages connections, recall, and creative expansion. Moving forward, if it comes to teaching aids, audio, of course, we have music, rhymes, podcast, and radio. What we can do is we can record children and retell stories. That's like, when we listen to ourselves, we also understand better that where we are faltering, how we can improve better. Compared to audio versions of the same folktale, what changes, what remains? When it comes to audio visuals, TV, films, video, TED Talks, but we can also, the children can actually, you can use short animated clips to pause and predict outcomes. Children can create storyboards. So all this and maybe videos also. Now, why do TLMs? There was a mention when Rashmi mentioned TLMs. So it turns passive learning into active discovery, give children a record of their thinking, make abstract concepts concrete. We are going back to the first slide, experiential learning. Okay, it also encourages collaboration and participation. What you need in a classroom, of course, you all know, is teaching aids, teaching material, methods, which we've discussed. We've talked about aids, teaching skills and activities, and of course, assessments. If we come to material, initially we just use textbooks, workbooks, and worksheets. But now what you can do is maybe, you're starting, for example, a lesson on some Mughal history or any history for that matter. Bring coins for maths, clay for geography models, digital tools, use short videos, audio clips, story recordings. Um, to teach fractions, you can actually do experiments in the classroom. These are just examples because just to open up ideas out there. And children would love to touch and explore material. That's very important. we are moving away from teacher-centered approach to student-centered approach. As I mean, as we are speaking, if you realize, we are moving away from being the authority, but being a co-learner. Okay, we are the facilitators. We are as much part of the learning. All right. So things are changing pretty fast, and this is going to be very, very useful in the classroom. Why? Because it helps have a relationship, a very, good relationship between teachers and student. Um, as we already know that it de-emphasizes on teacher instruction. We both go through the learning process together. It's hands-on learning. And students learn by observing and copying the teacher's process. So your role is very, very important. And you are not just a passive, it's not a passive role. Rather, students and you engage together in the whole process of learning. As teachers, you need to be patient, adaptable, imaginative, got to work with. Teamwork is not just between teachers. I mean, in my classrooms, we have done teamwork with the students. They know better dancing. They know. I mean, there was a poetry workshop. She says, "Can I write a poem in Gen Z?" I said, "Yes," because I want to learn words I do not understand. So you can be very creative out there, and it's a teamwork. And of course, one has to take risks. Maybe not sit in straight lines, rows. You can make circles and sit, or go out if the weather permits you and the school permits you. So it all, and of course, as teachers, we need to constantly learn and communicate. And mentoring is extremely important, so is leadership qualities. When it comes to assessment, of course, there's a whole bunch, like you can do 2 hours of assessment, but traditionally it used to be tests, marks, and grades. But now the emphasis is more on observations, reflection journals, and oral retelling. So observations, as teachers, we need to be very, very observant in the classroom. What is the child interested in to begin with? And that can be the beginning point of the child's interest in that subject also. Correct? So, and peer and self-assessment. Children are very, we all are very astute in a certain way. They can say, oh yeah, this was a better way. So those things really matter. Role play, model making, debates. So all these are basically assessment tools. Uh, the takeaway here is, please, children, teachers, explore, connect to life, spark curiosity, facilitate, and do not dictate. And that's all as far as I am concerned. If you have questions, yeah, and thoughts or takeaways more, please share in the chat box. Rashmi, you are on mute.
Yes, ma'am. So we have a few queries. Shiny ma'am says, alternative days I take a story at circle time in junior KG with moral values. Is it fine?
Of course, it's fine, but then you don't have to emphasize on the moral values here. Because what happens then, it's like, let the children decide for themselves. We imbibe a lot by listening and what our adults are doing. That's what it is all about. So let them
Oh.
be.
And Archana ma'am says, is there anything special for teaching English grammar to students of 6 to 8?
Yeah, we can do a session on that, but as of now, you can use music and why not? Lots of things. We did some of the things where we are talking about literary devices. But beyond that, yes, there are a lot of methods you can teach grammar by having fun, because that's the whole idea. So, yes, of course.
There are so many teachers asking for the certificates. So I would like to tell you that we will be sharing the certificates to the registered email IDs within 3 working days. So you can download it from there. We are coming to an end of this session, ma'am. So we have no more queries. So as we conclude this enriching session on turning classrooms into discovery hubs, we extend a heartfelt thank you to our esteemed guest, Ms. Sonia Duggal, for generously sharing her time, expertise, and inspiring perspectives. Your insights have truly motivated us to infuse more creativity and discovery into our classrooms, ma'am. To all the participants, thank you for your active engagement and thoughtful contributions. Your curiosity and enthusiasm made the session truly valuable. For all the webinar recordings, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn to stay updated. We hope you take away fresh ideas and practical strategies to make learning more meaningful, engaging, and enjoyable for your students. With sincere gratitude, thank you once again, and we look forward to welcoming you in our future sessions. Wishing you a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.